Kemper Stage or neural DSP Quad Cortex. Which is the best profiler on the market? The Quad Cortex or the Kemper Stage? Let's find out. We will now check the differences between the two units among the following parameters: number of amps, cabs and microphone built-in, third-party IRs availability, number of patches and preset, number of effects and more in general effect chain management, MIDI possibility, audio input and outputs, foot switches and expression pedal, screen size, looper and capabilities, ADA conversion and USB channels available, special features available with the two units, current, power, dimension, weight and price. First of all, we have 50 amps and more than 1000 IRs in the Quad Cortex, where you can load two mics at once. On the other hand, the Kemper offers 280 profiles and many more to download or buy. So the Kemper offers way more profiles at this point, and I would give it the thumbs up, even if for sure the Quad Cortex community will grow rapidly, and so also the profiles for the Quad Cortex I think are gonna grow up rapidly. Both the units offer the possibility to load third-party IRs, and we have 256 user slots in the Quad Cortex and almost 300 in the Kemper. The Quad Cortex load profiles up to 21 milliseconds, where Kemper offers scarce details about the quality of the IR you can load. They should be up to 200 milliseconds, so technically better, so I would give the thumbs up to the Kemper. Let me just say that there is also a debate about IR length, as some of us think that the most important information of an IR are at the beginning of the IR itself. So it is worthless to have longer IRs. I would not enter into this debate in this video. I would just add that, in my opinion, the stronger selling point for both the units is the possibility to create and load profiles. So it is less important important to have the possibility to load external IRs in my opinion. Furthermore, the Quad Cortex has 32 banks each with 8 presets for a total amount of 256 presets with 8 scenes that we can arrange in 10 setlists. Each scene is a specific combination of parameters of the signal chain. The cool thing about scenes is that you can switch one to the other basically with very low latency. On the other hand, the Kemper offers 125 performances, each of which can hold up to 5 rigs. For instance, we can use a performance to store the sounds dedicated to the intro, verse, refrain, bridge of a song and switch between them using a foot controller. Now, here I would give a thumbs up to both of them, as the Kemper offers more presets, but I found more convenient and easy to use the organization of the presets in the Quad Cortex, with the setlist and the very clever way you can browse and organize your presets. As regards effects, the Quad Cortex has more than 70 effects distributed in 32 blocks, not sure here, and you can have 4 parallel sets of effects, while the Kemper offers 78 effects arranged in 12 blocks with 2 blocks that can be set in parallel. Typically, we put in parallel reverbs and delay, even if you can choose the effect to put in parallel. Here I would give the thumbs up to the Quad Cortex, even if it has less effects, as the signal chain path is more flexible with 4 parallel blocks. And for me, this is a more important thing than having more effects in total. Both the units share the same I/O. These pedalboards have enough foot switches, in my opinion, and I don't have the need to buy external MIDI controllers or to check out the MIDI parameters you can set with both machines. So, if you are interested, I would kindly suggest you to check out the user manuals. As regards inputs and outputs, the Quad Cortex has 2 inputs that are also combi inputs, so that you can also attach a microphone for singing, where the Kemper has only 1 input that is a normal guitar input. And the Quad Cortex has 2 sends and 2 returns, where the Kemper has 2 sends and 4 return for the effect loop. So here it depends on what you need, but I would give a thumbs up to the Quad Cortex, as it could be used by guitarists who are also singers, thanks to the double input and the possibility to attach and drive a microphone, and therefore it opens a whole world of possibility. I would also add that the Quad Cortex can also be used to record acoustic guitars with condenser microphones without the need of a dedicated preamp. I think it's pretty cool. The Quad Cortex has 11 dual functions foot switches, meaning that they can serve also as rotary knob in order to change parameters, where the Kemper has 14 foot switches. The Quad has 2 inputs for external foot switches or expression pedals, and the Kemper has 4 of them, so the Kemper is better here. The screen of the Quad Cortex is far superior than the one of the Kemper, no doubts here. The Kemper has a 60 seconds looper, where currently the Quad Cortex does not come with a looper, and this is a kind of a bummer. It should be added with future firmware update, but so far the Kemper is better. As regards ADA conversion and USB capabilities, the Quad Cortex has 24 bits at 48 kHz converters and 18 and out USB channels. I was not able to find the technical characteristics of the Kemper converters other than it has a 108 dB of dynamic range. Furthermore, the Kemper cannot serve as an audio interface, but can be connected to your audio interface only via SPDIF. Therefore, in my opinion, the Quad Cortex is better here. And it is a kind of a bummer that the Kemper cannot serve as an audio interface, honestly. As regards special features, I would mention the Wi-Fi capabilities of the Quad Cortex that allows us to do firmware upgrades and upload and download presets and IRs in and from the cloud. Among the Kemper special features, I would mention the computer app that is currently missing for the Quad Cortex. So here I would give a thumbs up to both of them, as the Wi-Fi lo-fi capabilities of the Quad Cortex are nice, but for my workflow the Kemper computer app is pretty important and useful. Then we have the power needs, where the Kemper has an internal PSU and the Quad Cortex has an external one. The Quad Cortex draws 18 watts and unfortunately I was not able to find this info related to the Kemper. But I would give a thumbs down to both the units, as neither of the two offers a power out to feed external effects. So on one hand we can attach external pedals, but unfortunately we cannot feed them, but we need external power suppliers. As regards dimension and weight, the Quad Cortex is smaller and lighter. And finally the price, that is very similar for both the units. Nevertheless, as you suggested in the comments of my previous videos, no red or green thumbs in the price section, as the price tends to fluctuate and change over the time. So finally, let's count the green and red thumbs. We have 8 green thumbs for the Quad Cortex with 5 reds and 7 greens for the Kemper with 6 reds. Obviously, this is just a technical comparison without considering that each feature could have a different importance for you. And so for instance, you can consider the Quad Cortex better just because it has the 2 combi inputs, or the Kemper better for its computer app. But if you just algebraically sum the features according to my comparison chart, the Quad Cortex is a tiny bit better. Now we are going to do an head-to-head, real amp versus profile down with the Quad Cortex versus profile down with the Kemper. I'm using the Soldano in the crunch channel that is going into a greenback cabinet mic with an SM57 and preamplified with a Chandler Germanium. As regards the profile down in the Kemper, I've done also the refinement process 3 times actually, one playing through the whole neck, one dedicated to the high frequencies and one dedicated to the bass frequencies. I've not touched the equalization while profiling, as I would like to have, how to say, the raw profile coming out from the Quad Cortex and from the Kemper. The signal chain, I have the Surf Classic Antique S that is going to an Electro Harmonics parallel mixer. In channel 1 I have the real Soldano, in channel 2 I have the Quad Cortex, and in channel 3 I have the Kemper. Now we're gonna do the typical tests I do in these head-to-head comparisons. So first of all we will check out the gain levels, then we will adjust also the volume after the gain, as the gain also change a little bit the volume. Then we will try to match the equalization. Then we will check out the field tests that I would divide into. The first test dedicated to the dynamic response, I mean how the modelers breaks up and cleans up against the real deal, and the last test dedicated to how the modelers reproduce the envelope of the note. So let's start matching the gain. In my opinion, the Quad Cortex is less gainy, so let's add some gain. Okay, now I think they are very similar. The Kemper. I think it is a tiny bit too much gainy, so let's reduce a little bit the gain. Too much. Now I think they are pretty similar. And now frequency response. In my opinion, in both the modelers the bass frequencies are less present, and the Kemper is lacking more bass frequencies than the Quad Cortex, in my opinion. Let's add some bass frequencies. Okay, now I think they are pretty similar. Let's now hear the high frequencies. Okay, I think that maybe a tiny bit too much. Maybe also the Quad Cortex need to raise the volume. Okay. The Kemper need, in my opinion, a tiny bit of more high frequencies. Okay, now I think that they are similar. Obviously, this is not scientific because I'm doing this head-to-head live with you. I'm not hearing over and over. I just want to be the more instinctive as I can, and with this setting, to me, they sound pretty similar. Now let's check out the field test, how they manage the dynamic response, how they breaks up and cleans up. Real amp. Nothing to say also here. They are performing very well. Here there could be some errors in the gain level. I mean, I am human, I'm not perfect, so the gain level could be exactly not the same among the real amp, the Quad Cortex and the Kemper, and therefore the modelers can rise up and goes down quickly than the real deal if they have less gain. So here I think that they are very close. When I play I don't feel that different, and as I would say, they are in the range of the human error, I think. Now, not envelope. Okay, both the modelers are doing an amazing job. And let me know in the comment below your opinions, of course. If you hear any difference and what difference are you hearing. Final considerations here, and please notice that these are gonna be my personal opinions and you may not agree with me, and this is totally fine. Let me also add that I have purchased these units with my own money, and I'm not paid or sponsored by Kemper or Neural DSP. Furthermore, I own the Kemper since more than a year and the Quad Cortex since few days, so I'm more used to the Kemper. Lastly, the Quad Cortex is, how to say, in its infancy, with the first version of the firmware, where the Kemper has already had a lot of iterations of its firmware, and Kemper is in the amp modelers market since many years. Let's now share the main selling points in my opinion for each unit. Amp sound. Well, it's a pro for both of them. With good profiles you can obtain a pretty good result for both the units. You can judge by yourself watching the more sound section of this video or the demo song. Effects. Well, as regards effects, I think it's pretty difficult to judge about quality, as it's hard for me to find a reference. You know, with amp simulation we have the real amp, but with effects, first of all, there are a lot of different effects, and there could be a quality difference among them. And furthermore, which is the reference, let's say, for a chorus? It really comes down to personal taste, in my opinion. Therefore, I would just say that if you are an effect geek, the Quad Cortex is better, as it can manage pretty complex signal chains with 4 parallel paths, where the Kemper is, I think, not so powerful. Home recording. Well, here I have no doubts. The Quad Cortex is better. It has 8 USB inputs and outputs, 2 combo inputs to which you can also attach a microphone. It is missing the SPDIF connection available in the Kemper, but I think that with USB in and out you would need the SPDIF connections in very specific situations. And honestly, I never understood why Kemper decided not to pass audio signal via USB. I mean, not to allow the Kemper Stage to serve also as an audio interface. For me, it is honestly a weakness of the Kemper Stage. Live use. Well, for me they are both great machines. The Kemper is bigger, with more foot switches that are also more distant each from the other, so I think it's more comfortable for presets switching. But on the other hand, the Quad Cortex is much lighter and smaller and easy to carry around. And honestly, I like its compactness. Workflow. Well, the Kemper has a computer app already available that should be available in the future also for the Quad Cortex, but so far it is missing. In my opinion, the computer app is a better way to work if you are recording a song, as you have everything in the screen of your computer. With the Quad Cortex, I found myself going back and forward between the computer and the quad screen. Sometimes I also had to stand up to better verify the parameters. So basically the Kemper, in my opinion, provides with a more seamless workflow when you are recording with the computer. Easiness of use. Well, not considering the computer app, the Quad Cortex is far superior. I mean, the touch screen, the way you browse parameters, and the way the user interface has been designed guarantee a very satisfying experience. So far, the touch sensitivity of the screen is not comparable to the one of an iPhone, as sometimes you have to repeat the gesture or the touch you have done. But it's way more easy than the Kemper, no doubts here. And if I had to choose, well, first of all, both of these machines are great machines. They are both outstanding piece of gear, and I'm going to apply a use case here that is my use case, that could be different from yours. So I'm not necessarily saying that one machine is better than the other. I'm gonna just say which one suits better my needs. And obviously your needs could be different from mine. Now, amp sound and effects are not the deciding factor for me. The amp sound is good enough in both the unit, and I'm not an effect geek, so I'm fine with both of the units. The recording features of the Quad Cortex are far superior, but currently I'm stuck in my studio, and I have my own microphones preamps and my own audio recording interface. I would reconsider this topic if and when I will travel again, as the Quad Cortex is way more convenient for recording than the Kemper, for which you need an audio interface. Summarizing, I don't see any specific area where I should buy the Kemper, with the three exceptions. I mean, I can see only three areas where the Kemper has the edge: the computer app, the looper, the profiling market. Neural DSP say that the computer app and the looper will be added in future firmware upgrades, and given that the price of these two machines is almost equal, I would not make my choice and my investment upon a feature that is gonna be added with future firmware upgrade. And now the profiling market. I mean, this is really a key differentiating factor. Kemper has a huge profile market, and you can buy and sell your profiles pretty easily, as the Kemper is a very open platform. On the other hand, to me, it is still not clear the direction towards Neural DSP is going. I mean, currently the only way to share profiles is with the app, and you can share a profile for free or privately. So maybe using the private sharing you can create some processes also for being paid for a profile, but it is, I think, complicated. I mean, so far the Quad Cortex is a pretty closed platform, and this is where the Kemper, that is a very open platform with tons of profiles, can still maintain its market share. In this area the Kemper is better, and this is currently the only reason why I could be more keen to the Kemper compared to the Quad Cortex. And it is not a factor to underevaluate, as I think that the more profiles are available in the market, the more these units are valuable. And now it's your turn. I'm very curious to hear from you your precious and valuable opinion, and to know which one of the two units you would choose and which are the key selling points for you. I think that the discussion we'll all have together in the comments is really an added value, for sure for me, and I hope also for you. Thank you in advance for all your comments, opinions and feedbacks. We have now reached the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed, and if you did it, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell and leave a thumbs up. It would be of great help. If you're interested in my IRs or in my Kemper profiles, you can check out the link in the card above or description below, where there is also a link to a playlist of songs of mine. Thank you for watching, see you in the next video, bye bye.